thinking about when in the beginning of Argo. I know Gary, you haven't seen this yet, so try not to spoil as much of it as possible. But we learn the Michelle Keegan character Georgie and her her fiance. Their favourite song is their favourite song is
She moves in her own way.
She moves in her own way by the Kooks, and it's like, oh, we couldn't get the music rights to anything recent. That's what that
Seriously,
felt like
is that the reason?
That is what it felt like to me.
Yeah, because that song's from 2006 or something. Yeah,
he would have been about 7 at that point.
Yeah, they're both in their they're both in their early 20s, aren't they? So they would have
been millennials.
And so I can't see that song being their favourite one, but it's probably like cheap because we spent all the money on blooming Adele for Good Night
Explosions.
Well, that and sending them to what looked like a desert.
South Africa.
What do you think of the opening titles for this? Because they're very
that's the only bit I've seen. And
what do you think of the opening titles, Gary?
It looked weird. She's kind of throwing this doll around or something.
Well, it's like an action. Does she throw a doll down and then picks up an action man or something?
That's it, yeah. And then it's all shot in kind of like slow
motion. To be fair, I did do that this morning.
Oh, fair enough.
But you picked the doll back up.
Yeah, I did. I thought I can't leave you on the floor, darling.
But it seemed out of place.
It's hard to talk about this without spoiling it for the one person who hasn't seen it, but
I'm okay.
Again, Matt's review goes into more depth, but suffers again, I think, from the same problem that the original series did. Michelle Keegan does an okay job filling Lacey 2 in his army boots, but the problem is the dialogue's just too clunky. There's a bit in it when Georgie lands in what is... Where's it supposed to be? Africa? Is it
Kenya.
Her male army colleagues say to Captain James, who I can never decide if he can't act or he just gets cheesy lines to say. It's one or the other. But they say to him, "Oh, you've got moves like Jagger, sir." Whoever says that to anyone? It's a pathetic line of dialogue. There is a lot of bad dialogue that just clunks together, and I cannot work out.
It's when writing the soldiers, isn't it? It's writing the sort of supporting soldier characters, and they have like army consultants. They were at the screening, and it's like I don't think I hated the dialogue as much as you did.
I think it just takes you out of it.
It's the sexism, I think, isn't it? It's that aspect of it. I think.
Well, I can believe that happens, but it's just the way they address it doesn't ring true at all.
It's almost like he's quite uncomfortable there. He wants to get to the sort of the crisis centre and stuff like that. Those scenes where I think it shines more.
How many are there?
5. I like the fact that it's not sort of, you're not in the foxholes of Afghan again. You're sort of in this refugee camp in this centre.
But I will say, if you get to the end of episode 1, folks, then you'll need to watch episode 2. If I could have if I could have watched episode 2 after the end of episode 1, I would have. I think it's very gripping, and I think it wastes too much time on this clunky dialogue.
Well, it wastes about 25 minutes in the UK at the beginning. We get all the sort of stuff about her
on her love life. I mean, I think it does Michelle Keegan and the show a disservice. If it was called Our Boy, it wouldn't be about his girlfriends all the time. Why does it have to be about her love life because she's a woman? I think it's unfair and does the show a disservice. The action sequences are really well done and really believable and really tense.
There is actually, in the second episode, it is mainly, there's hardly anything about sort of romance. It is mainly
because even the first series, we bemoaned his seemingly insistence on putting Lacey Turner with Ben Aldridge, who again I don't think can act, so they didn't really work well together. It's just the overnights don't look good for it. 9 million for the Bake Off, 3.8 for Argo, which means nearly DCI Banks, and I don't have the figures for that. That means 6 million people turned off.
Well, yeah, it did go up against the opening ceremony of the Paralympics.
That only got 2 million, so that means 6 million people turned off.
I think a lot of the people who watched this, though, if you remember when we interviewed Tony Grounds last time, he was saying it was a lot of young people who watched it, and I think it will rise on Consolidated.
You think the overnights and things are a bad example of what
I think, as we've said before about this, young people don't tend to watch the linear TV. I think the Bake Off audience is very much sort of Middle England's.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's why we struggle with it? Because it does cater to particularly young girls, because that's got to be the only reason why
that's what Tony said last time. He got lots of letters, didn't he, from like young girls from impoverished backgrounds who said,
so the three of us are not well versed.
I didn't think that I I could do what I wanted to do until I saw this. Like Molly was a inspiration. Like, because she went off to the army, I can maybe sort of do acting and stuff like. I'm from a similar background to her. But Georgie didn't seem to be that sort of impoverished background, because obviously she was in like a flat, wasn't she, with all her brothers and sisters. They could certainly afford a good wedding at the Manchester Cathedral.
It might be cheaper than you think in Manchester. I've not been there for a while.
Well, they did get that for an episode of Don't Tell the Bride, if I remember correctly. That was
There you are.
They just give it away.
But I think I enjoyed it, and the second episode I think is stronger, which is it's interesting for a drama. It's usually the other way around.